Hello, I'm Graham Jones and welcome to Channel KT4 broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. You can join in the show by sending in questions. Just press the comments button on the screen. Don't forget to click the like or share buttons. If you're watching on YouTube, please click to subscribe to Channel KT4. I'm so pleased to welcome to my virtual studio the Chief Executive Officer of Citizens Advice, Epsom and Ewell. Please welcome Lisa Davis, and thank you for finding the time, Lisa, to join me today, especially as I know how busy you and your team are at present. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Graham. I'm really happy to be here.
It's great to have you on the show, and I'm really looking forward to finding out all about Citizens Advice. Again, it's an area that's new to me, and so I'm really looking forward to the next 20 minutes to 30 minutes or so. So, Lisa, let's cut to the chase here. What does the Citizens Advice offer the Epsom and Ewell community?
I think the best way to describe it, Graham, is that we provide information and advice to people to help them to deal with the problems that they face. I think there's a perception that a lot of the advice that we provide is benefits related, and whilst that's true, that benefits does take up a lot of the work that we do, there is just so much more in terms of the breadth of our offer. So our advice covers debt, housing, employment, family, consumer issues, and immigration. We also have specialized services that people may not know about. So, for example, we have specialist debt advisors, and they will undertake casework on behalf of clients and help to bring their matters to a really pragmatic resolution. Additionally, we have a mental health team, and that's really to assist those individuals that may be suffering from severe and enduring mental health conditions that aren't able to access our services in the usual way. And so we do have that team that will, go into people's houses or may go into secure hospital facilities in order to provide that information and advice. We also have a tribunal service, and this service is made up completely of volunteers, and they will undertake mostly benefit appeals. So the work that they will do will be everything from drafting the appeal papers all the way to advocating the case on behalf of the client. And finally, we have a campaigning wing where we will campaign on be it locally or nationally, on policies that affect people, so policies and practices that affect our clients. I think it's really important to say, and something that people might not know, is that we are completely independent. So we're an independent charity, responsible for raising our own funds, and the advice that we provide, no matter what it may be it general basic advice or that casework or that tribunal service, that advice is completely free to anyone that walks in through our doors or that phones us up on our advice line. It's confidential, it's impartial, and importantly, it's non-judgmental.
Do you know something, Lisa? I didn't realize how broad what you provide is. We're talking about debt management, and then we're looking at mental health issues. We're talking about hospitalization. We're talking about people helping with papers. I mean, that's a huge amount of work. And then the other bit that I've just learned is that I automatically assumed that you were a government-funded organization. I didn't realize that Citizens Advice was not government-funded, and you have to raise all this money to keep this going through a central organization, and then that devolves and percolates down to the various boroughs around the country, I suppose.
Yeah, so we do. I mean, we're grateful for our funders. We do have funders that support us. So we receive funding through the local authority for our core funding, and they also fund a part of our debt specialist debt team. Other than that, we have specialist projects. So that mental health project that I outlined is funded partly by the NHS and partly by Henry Smith Foundation. And our specialist debt team is also partly funded by Rosebery Housing Association. So we do have, we would seek out various funding streams, but on top of that, there's a lot to do around just our own publicity and raising funds on our own, really. So we will be seeking out grants, to effectively keep us afloat. And we do a lot in terms of that publicity and fundraising wing. It's a huge part of what we do to ensure that we remain financially sustainable.
I can imagine that the the fundraising department of Citizens Advice at Epsom and Ewell must be huge to cope with all of those different and so diverse, by the way, I think, so diverse funding streams that are coming into you. You mentioned about through kind of borough, is it borough funding you're getting through Epsom and Ewell Borough County Council, or is it county?
It is Borough Council.
Borough, okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Now, Lisa, I've got a couple of pictures here, and do you mind if I pop them up and you could tell us just a little bit about them? There's a first one here, which is, I think, is nicely called Early Days.
Yeah, we've been archiving photos throughout the years, because we turned 80 back at the end of 2019. So this is just what it looked like in sort of some of those early days of us having the service. So I actually don't know any of the individuals here, but one I think was the borough manager at the time. But I understand it was a very, very small office, and everything was done just with a handful of volunteers at the time.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And I've got here, it just says that the strap line that came with it for me was the 1989 cutting. You're going to have to help me with this one, Lisa.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, this is probably one of our sort of initial forays into publicity, and just really setting out there the work that we do and that we did at the time. So from 1989, here we go. There's nothing that's too big for us at Citizens Advice. So again, some of the core individual volunteers that would have been helping us out at the time.
Okay, that's absolutely amazing. Now, this is one that when we were having a chat pre-show, you kind of got a little emotional about this particular picture, and I understand why, because I do need to start asking you about pandemic and all that sort of stuff. And here's a picture of, obviously it's a fundraising night for you, and it's the quiz night, and there's a couple of lovely pictures. Do tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I mean, a huge part of what we do is fundraising, and this was a lovely night, an event out in Ewell, and so these two tables here is a mixture of staff and trustees out on a night. This was actually hosted by one of the residents associations. I think it was Ewell Court at the time, Residents Association, that hosted this quiz night on our behalf, and so they did everything in terms of helping to get people in to buy tickets, helping with the venue, so we didn't have to worry about paying for the venue, for example, and then providing us with the proceeds afterwards. So an absolutely fun night. I mean, one of those nights that we can't wait to get back to, obviously, post-pandemic.
I think we're all of the same mind there, Lisa. I'm itching to get out and about, really am. But also I think that you mentioned there the Residents Association, and I'm a member of the Cuddington Residents Association, and I think actually it's great across the borough of Epsom and Ewell how the residents associations are supporting the community, because actually that's why the Residents Association exists, to help and support and make a direct impact into life within the community. So I'm really delighted that that was supported by Ewell Court to do that. Now, Lisa, how long has Citizens Advice been helping the community? I think you said 80 years?
Well, yeah, so now 81. So we've been a real sort of force here in Epsom Ewell for 81 years. Citizens Advice, as in the national brand, was started in 1939, and this was in complete response to the outbreak of war at the time. And as you can imagine, the government set up the organization to help with many types of issues, homelessness, loss of ration books, evacuation, people trying to locate missing relatives. And we're really proud to say that we were one of the first 200 offices that were opened on the 4th of September 1939. Of course, the types of issues that we deal with over the years has changed dramatically. So following the war, debt became a real issue because of reduced income. Benefits obviously picked up a lot of speed as well, and traction. I think the one thing I'd like to say that hasn't changed is the fact that volunteers have always been the backbone of our service. So from those initial days in 1939, it was all about the volunteer service. Volunteers were helping in public buildings and in private houses. And that's still the system today. If you look at any citizens' advice, including our own, you're looking at 95% of the staff being volunteers, including our trustees. And without their support, we wouldn't be able to achieve the amazing outcomes that we achieve. So each year, for us, Citizens Advice Epsom and Ewell, we've been able to help circa 3,000 people and provide amazing, fantastic, financial and non-financial outcomes for them. Last year alone, I think it was £1.1 million that we were able to help people achieve in terms of income. And the qualitative outcomes, I would say, are even far more great in terms of just getting those cards and those responses from our clients that say, your support and your advice has helped me to better able to cope and to feel less anxious and less worried.
Yeah, I think that's I'm sure that feedback that you're receiving is very important, because it also helps you to improve the service that you're doing. Now, you were talking about 81 years old, and through your archives, I didn't find it. I know that you did, or somebody from your team did. I think this is just a superb picture. Let's have a look at it. There we go.
Yeah, that's how it all started. So you'll see there, Citizens Advice Bureau, and people would literally come, and seek out advice there and then. So that's where it all started. Like I said, in some instances, it moved from there to the private dwellings before it started to branch out into actually, getting accommodation and carrying on in that way. So yeah, we've come a long way.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that there we are 81 years ago, and you've got kind of like transportation or caravan sort of thing to take from A to B, and it's kind of like lots of people are now doing that today. Particularly in normal times when we've got fetes and events, so people can go and publicize and fundraise and do all the other wonderful things that they need to be doing. Now, who are the advisors? How do you select them? And how, importantly, to know, and everybody needs to know this, how do you become one?
So we have a bit of a mixed bag at our Citizens Advice. So we have assessors and advisors and caseworkers, and actually supervisors as well. And the majority of them are volunteers, other than a really small number of paid caseworkers that are funded through those projects. And who are they? I mean, they come from such a diverse background. We have students. So the person in the middle there is Steph, who's one of our students from Guildford University, who undertook a work placement scheme with us last year. So she was with us for almost a year as part of her law degree. And we have people that, they could be in full-time education, giving us either work placement a year or 1 day a week. Or we may have actually people that are still in employment, but maybe they work part-time and they give us half a day or 1 day a week of their time. And then on the other end, we also have individuals that are already retired and are giving back their time to us. And again, in terms of age profile, I mean, you're talking about a broad range, a diverse group of people, from the youngest being 19 years old to, in terms of advisors, we have advisors that have been with us 30, 35 plus years. In terms of our volunteer group, our oldest volunteer is actually a volunteer receptionist who is approaching 95 years old. So it just goes to show you, the broad and the depth, I would say, in terms of the type of individuals that join us. How do you join? First of all, we'd love for you to join. We always need more help, and particularly, obviously, being in a pandemic and seeing the numbers in terms of people, more people coming to see us and seek us out for help. First of all, to say absolutely no experience required. We will completely train you. We don't need, all we need is your time. That's it. So, you come along and we will train you. And that can be for those key advice roles, whether it be an assessor or an advisor, but equally, we can do with help in terms of admin or receptionists, when we're able to get back into the office, for example. We have some people who are involved in publicity and media. We'll always take volunteers for those types of areas as well. In terms of what you can provide, again, it's your time. You tell us what you can provide. Most people will provide us a day a week of their time, and that can be either one full day or 2 half days. But we'll take what we can. And I think, just going back to this point about the volunteers, it's just fantastic because when we look at calculating how much time they give to us, we have something like over 50 volunteers, and when we work it out, it works out to something along the lines of £500,000 worth of volunteering hours each year that they provide to us, which is amazing.
I think that's quite incredible, those amount of hours. And again, it just within the volunteer group, there's got to be, as you've clearly stated there, quite a bit of diversity within that. People who are assessor advisors, and also receptionists, administrators. I imagine the administration must be huge. Right? Just even licking envelopes and putting stamps on and getting all that stuff out, besides all the other admin that goes with what I'm assuming is a really, really busy office. Now, you mentioned the office, and I know the office is closed at the moment, but just for everybody listening, where is the office?
So our office is in the Old Town Hall in Epsom. So it's, if you know the Epsom and Ewell Borough Council, they're in the New Town Hall. We're just next door on the Old Town Hall. You really can't miss this. It's the Parade is the name of the street if you're looking for it. Just along the high street there. Really can't miss it. And yeah, so that's where we are. If you just ask anyone in Epsom, they'll be able to probably point us out.
Yeah. How do you? Okay. Do you have any idea when you might be able to reopen the office?
Not as yet. I mean, we are, obviously working a lot with the Borough Council in terms of because it's their building, so we are in regular communication with them as to that, and I'm sure when that decision's made, we'll be made aware of that. And it's difficult, obviously, in terms of we're unable at the moment to undertake face-to-face, but I do want to say, obviously, we are still providing an amazing and a fantastic service. So please do contact us. Our advice line, we are willing, and there people are on the phones waiting to help. You can call us. Our key hours are between 10 and 4. The number is 0300 330 1164. So 0300 330 1164. You can also email us. So our email address is office@caee.org.uk. office@caee.org.uk. And we're happy to help. We'll continue to provide the service via phone, via email, until we're able to get back into the office.
Okay, Lisa, and also just to support what you're just saying about contact information, you've also got a Facebook page, and you've also got your own web page as well, which are all accessible. Now, for anybody who's watching, if you go onto Facebook and you go onto my channel, onto channel KT4, you'll find an event notice there that has all the details that Lisa's just given out. It's all on there. It's on the Cuddington site. You'll find it on YouTube, and you'll find it on as many social media platforms. But just on Facebook, I mean, I did it myself. So go onto Facebook and just type in Citizens Advice Epsom and Ewell, and you'll go straight to where you need to be. Now, Lisa, I understand that Citizens Advice gets involved in local and national campaigns.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of a campaign?
Yeah, so I think probably the most recent one that you may have heard about is the Keep the Lifeline campaign. So that relates to the £20 uplift per week for universal credit. And that was sort of put in place during the pandemic and was due to come to an end next month. And the nationally, the local citizens advice offices sort of really galvanized in terms of really pushing and campaigning on this issue, writing to local MPs, getting stories out on social media about how this £20 uplift really made a difference to the lives of our clients. You would have probably then seen that in the Chancellor's budget announcement, that he announced that £20 uplift will be carried on for another 6 months until September. So we are completely, really overjoyed with that. That makes a real difference in the lives of our clients, and we're quite pleased to have been part of that campaign.
That's great. I'm just going to pull a slide up now. Is this the campaign you're talking about, Lisa?
Well, this isn't actually the campaign, but this just shows an overview of just last year how many campaigns we were involved in. So that was 119, and then it just gives a bit more of a breakdown around what types of matters were raised. So you'll see there the breakdown, including employment support allowance issues, 20 PIP issues, debt and housing. So it's just a bit more of a breakdown. But over the course of last year alone, we were involved around, we picked up or identified 119 separate different issues that we then considered. Some of those we then campaigned on.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. We touched on how people get in contact. Can you just read that vital telephone number out again for us, please, Lisa?
So it's 0300 330 1164.
Oh, thank you for that, Lisa. Thank you for dropping into my virtual studio here at Channel KT4. It's been fascinating to find out about all the great work you and your team do and the differences it makes here in Epsom and Ewell. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Executive Officer of Citizens Advice at Epsom and Ewell, Lisa Davis. Lisa, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Graham. It's really been my pleasure.
Oh, it's absolutely my honor to talk with you and to find out all about the amazing things that you're doing. Thanks very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Now it's time for me to just give a little big shout out to Chris and Lynn and all the staff at Visiting Angels who provide quality at home care within the KT and the SM postcode area. Visiting Angels continue to support our local news magazine, The Cuddingtonian. So thank you, Chris and Lynn, for your much appreciated support. It is really vital that we get that kind of support from you. So a big thank you again to our team there. What a great job that they're doing. So this is Graham Jones. Join me next time on Channel KT4. Until then, stay safe and don't forget to social distance. Bye now. Take care.